Hey there, welcome back to Online Marketing Foundations. We're still in Module 3, Connect with Your Audience. And in this lesson, we're talking about creating your core content. Now, last lesson, we talked about your stories, which are important. Now we're going to move on to talking about the content that you're going to be creating on a regular basis. And when I use content here, we're talking about kind of long form content, a blog post, a video show, a podcast, something of that sort, not kind of the day-to-day social media post. We're going to cover social media in the next lesson. This lesson is more about kind of your long-form informational content that you'll be creating for people. So that's what we're going to talk about. Let's dive in. We're going to start with the truth bomb. And the truth bomb is that you need to be creating content. And you need to be intentional about the content you create. And I say this because a lot of people ask, but do I really have to blog? Do I really have to have some kind of content? Because it takes work. And my answer is yes, you do. If you want to build a business, you need to be creating content because it is a core piece of what you're doing. It's a core piece of connecting with your audience, of attracting people, of doing all of those things. And you need to be intentional about how you're doing it as well. Because if you're just doing it kind of in a haphazard, who cares? I'm just going to throw something out there. It's not going to work. So you need to be doing this and it's got to be intentional. So I want to stress that with you so there's no question. Now, in this lesson specifically, we're going to be talking about the fact that you need to consistently create long-form content on your core channel, that you need to create content based on your your content pillars, and that you need to focus on creating content that connects. Again, we're in the connect phase, where we're talking about the connect piece of the framework, so it shouldn't be a surprise that I'm saying here that your content should connect. So let's start with the concept that you need to create regular content on one core platform. And the first piece I want you to get here is that you need to create long-form content on a regular basis. And again, to stress this, long-form content here is not social media posts. It's a blog post, a podcast, a YouTube video show, maybe a live on Facebook, but it's got to be kind of a long form thing, not just a post, something that's longer, that's actually kind of, giving more information to your people. So you need to be doing that on a regular basis. And ideally, you should create content each and every week. But here's what I'm going to say. The most important thing is to be consistent in your schedule. Now, I'm not going to say it's okay to only create content monthly because you need to be more regular than that. But some people want to start with every 2 weeks, and that's fine. But set a schedule and stick to it. What I'll tell you is, the more you produce, if you produce a piece of content a week, that's going to be better than every 2 weeks. If you can do weekly and then say, hey, I'm going to try to add a second piece every week, that will be even better. But the more you produce, the better, because it gives more opportunities for people to connect with you, etc. And the thing I want you to get is that creating regular content will attract new people to your world and will help you connect with your existing audience. So it does both of those things. And that's important, right? Your content could be the thing that someone says, ooh, that's interesting. And that's the first, point of contact that people have with you. So it serves that role of attracting people, but it's also really about helping you to kind of provide ongoing service to your people and connect with the people who are already in your world as much or just as much. So you need to be thinking about both things as you're creating it. And the reason why it helps is that long-form content allows you to build trust with your audience by establishing you as an authority. Basically, it establishes you as kind of the go-to person who's providing useful information to them about the topics that they need and want to hear about. So that is one thing that it can definitely do for you. And because consistency is the name of the game, pick one platform and focus your attention there. In other words, what I'm saying is you're going to pick either a blog or a podcast or a YouTube show or a live every week on Facebook. You're going to pick that one place, your one platform, and you will be publishing there consistently. If you bounce between content channels, your audience won't be able to keep up. In other words, don't 1 week create a blog post and then the next week create a podcast and then the week after that go to YouTube and then the week after that go to Facebook Live. That's not the way to do it because people are like, where are you? I don't know where to find you. But when you show up in the same place consistently, your audience will know where to find you. And that's important. So again, whatever you're going to do, it's consistent. So if you're going to do a podcast, you're going to have a podcast that comes out the exact same day each week. Same thing with a blog post. You're going to say, I'm going to do a blog post every Tuesday. Or if you do a Facebook Live show, you're going to be like, I'm going to be live at Tuesdays at 2 p.m. You're going to be that specific where it is consistent so people know where to find you. So that's the level of consistency you need to set. Now, how do you pick the platform? Pick a platform that fits your personality and where you're willing to be consistent. In other words, you have to think about what is your personality type and what form of content are you most likely to show up for and be consistent. I'll give you an example. I chose podcasting because pulling up a mic and hitting record is easy for me. Writing a blog post every week, that would be a challenge because I would start worrying about things and I would overthink it and I would do all that. Whereas getting on a mic and doing a podcast is easy for me. So I chose the medium that, number one, I know my audience listens to. And you need to make sure that your audience will pay attention. But beyond that, you need to make sure that it's a place you will be willing to show up and show up on a regular basis. So again, pick a place, show up there consistently. That's the key. Now, let's talk about how to figure out what to talk about. And this is that you build your content around what I call content pillars. You could call them buckets. You could call them silos. The idea is simply that you should identify content pillars that serve as the categories around which you'll create content. Okay? It's just a fancy word for categories. And the reason you're going to do this is that pillars make content creation easier because you know the topics you'll cover generally. In other words, if you had to every week come up with, well, what in the world am I going to talk about now? And there was no structure, no idea of what you would be talking about, it's harder. Now, if you know, hey, I'm going to talk generally about these 4 different categories of things, it's much easier because you're not having to think across all universes of all potential topics. You're simply saying, okay, it's going to fit into one of these 4 categories and think it through. So that's the value of pillars. Here's how you choose it. One pillar should focus on your core differentiators. What do you believe that's different? What is different about your approach? Again, we went over core differentiators in Module 2, so you know what they are, but the concept is that one pillar of your content should be about those things. Then you're going to pick multiple pillars related to kind of your buyers' pain points, frustrations, and challenges. What are things they want help with? And you'll talk about those. And then you can also consider a pillar around mindset issues because a lot of people have mindset issues. Most of us could talk about mindset and, kind of inspiration and things like that. I started by calling mine the swift kick in the ass, but I've kind of expanded beyond that. But you get the point. It's something about helping people kind of get their mindset right. Most people could have that as one of their pillars. So that's how you do it. You're going to go through those, and that's how you pick your pillars. Now, once you've done that, once you pick your pillars, it's pretty simple. You brainstorm ideas that fit into each pillar to create a list of content topics. If you had 5 pillars, for example, you should be able to come up with 5 to 10 topics for each pillar pretty easily. And that then means you have, if you're doing it weekly, somewhere between 6 months and a year's worth of content topics right there, and then all you have to do is create it. So that's why you're going to use pillars. That's how you pick them. That's how you create them, and then you just create your topics under it. Now, let's talk about the last piece, which is that you're going to focus on creating content that connects. Although content should move your audience towards buying, you want to focus on connection as well. See, every piece of content could be someone's first interaction with you and your brand. So because of that, you need to think about, okay, how do I want someone to experience my brand? And if your content is bland, boring, vanilla, you're really missing a chance to connect with those new audience members because they're not going to get to see the real you. They're not going to get to see your cowbell. They won't experience your voice. They won't experience any of that. And as a result, they may be like, this is just another boring thing about X and not come back. Okay? If, on the other hand, you actually bring kind of a connection mindset and bring your personality, bring your voice, do that stuff, people are experiencing the real you. That way, when they experience the real you, you're going to attract the right people because they will be drawn to you. And so that's about the new people, but also to truly connect with your existing people. If you infuse your content with your voice, infuse your content with your voice and personality. If you do that, people who are already in your audience will feel even more connected with you after consuming your content on a regular basis. So it just kind of deepens the relationship, deepens the connection. Then the other thing I want you to get is that when you focus on connection, your content will build the know, like, and trust factor. And so that's all important. And you know what that does over the long term? It is going to lead to sales. So that's how your content, when you focus on connection, it actually will help you to convert over the long term because it's building the relationship, it's building the connection. So, key takeaway. When you create consistent content, the right people will connect with it and they'll know where to find you because it's consistent. So that's what you need to be doing. That's what you need to be doing on a regular basis. So commit to creating regular long-form content that connects and you will be on your way to success. That's it for this lesson. In the next lesson, you'll learn the right way to approach social media in your business because if you're going to use it, you need to make sure you're using it right. I'll see you there.